Welcome, undead fiends, to Brando's Halloween special. Today we are looking at 3 spooky stories from Majora's Mask. So sit back in your crypt, eat some worms, and enjoy the thrills. We start our creepy tales with the mysterious alien invaders above Romani's ranch. On the first day, you can find Romani practicing her archery, preparing for something. We can speak with the older sister to learn that their father has died some time ago, and she's taken over the farm, but it's not stated how he died. That's a mystery. She mentions that things lately have been unstable. The cows are bothered, bottles are being found broken and scattered, and she mentions that her little sister, Romani, has been scared lately and has been practicing using her bow to stop ghosts. If we speak with Romani, the young girl says they come at night and visit the barn every year just before the carnival, which is set to happen in 3 days. These intergalactic raiders apparently disturb the farm and perhaps steal the cows, and it's up to her alone to stop them. Of course, nobody believes Romani, and her older sister won't hear of it. These others appear to be some sort of mix between aliens and ghosts. As the young girl states, they come riding in a shining bright ball, and many of them come down. Of course, there might be one other who believes her alien claims. If we visit Granny in the Stockpot Inn, whose family are close friends with the ranch owners, we can see a photo of what appears to be an alien spaceship. If the aliens truly did come down every year, then surely others might have known about it. And the quality of this photo seems very dated, so perhaps they've been coming for decades. After agreeing to help Romani in the defense of the farm, at 2 a.m. we can see her running into the barn. Soon after, the bright lights appear and the aliens arrive, all slowly closing in. If you can defend the barn until dawn, then the day is saved, and Romani is forever grateful. But if you don't defend the barn, well, you can visit Cremia in the aftermath, and we see Romani is different. She's no longer the happy-go-lucky girl she once was. When they entered the barn, they took the cows and the milk, but they did something to Romani as well. Cremia seems off and mentions something happened to her sister, but doesn't mention exactly what. She seems distraught, confused, and perhaps even guilty for not listening to Romani concerning the cows. So what exactly happened? What were these things? If we examine the creatures, we see a large head on top of a wide robe. It has long, skinny arms with bright light eyes acting like headlights. But these weren't entirely made up. In order to see the inspiration for these designs, we need to head back to 1952, West Virginia, where the Flatwoods Monster originates. In this small town, 6 boys aged 10 to 17, a dog, and their mother saw something that would go down forever in infamy, making the local and national news. According to the reports, they witnessed what appeared to be a 10-foot Frankenstein monster with a blood-red body and a green face in the hills above Flatwoods. According to a local newspaper publisher, Stewart stated that these people were the most scared people he had ever seen. People don't normally just make up stories like this so easily and act it out perfectly for years. Some discarded this as hysteria. Others hyped it up and cashed in on the newly coined home of the Green Monster. One thing is for sure, these images paint a scarily similar portrait to our aliens in Majora's Mask. But something we need to examine that's overlooked is the aftermath. What happened to Romani? A group in New England known as the Experiencers are a collection of people who have claimed to have been abducted. And they all echo similar sentiments and feelings. While the aliens themselves may differ, their experiences are alike. They all claim to have parts of their memory erased or modified, with only bits and pieces remaining. They mention orbs of light, much like Romani did. And they all seem to suffer from some sort of post-abduction syndrome, a sort of PTSD. Living in a silent hypnotic state of paranoia. People with PAS often claim that they're missing time as if they've been transported forward. They often feel lost or confused, with no more interest in normal routine activities. And this matches what we see in Romani. She is silent, confused. She nearly seems like she was kidnapped or the victim of some sort of abuse the way she sits there with a melancholy look on her face. Whatever happened to her has scarred her forever, and her sister is now left picking up the pieces of a farm with no more cows and a younger sister with no more joy.
Oh, shut up, you. No one even likes you. Anyway, if that first story wasn't enough to set your bones to chill, then this next one certainly will.
The moon above is the central connecting fear that all residents of Termina share. As you begin your journey, you emerge from a clock tower counting down the days until the night of the festival. But the countdown also has a link to something more sinister. The first thing you see as you enter Clocktown is an apprentice staring up in disbelief and horror as he mumbles at the ever-growing size of the moon above. In 3 days, it will crash into Termina, destroying everything. As you venture off learning about everyone's habits and desires, we discover how everyone copes with the oncoming inevitable tragedy of the moon descending. We can find the fearless Master Swordman hiding in his back room, shuddering and breaking down. We find Madame Aroma drinking herself into a stupor as she laments the loss of her son. Anju is waiting patiently, alone in her room, for her lover to finally appear. The head carpenter yells and mocks the moon stubbornly, telling it to fall already if it's going to. Some flee. Others look for shelter. In the end, everyone's true nature emerges as they try to withstand the inevitable end that seeks us all. The apocalyptic moon. Now, some of you may have known that there wasn't always a face on the moon. In fact, for the original prototypes, the moon was faceless as it descended, which is likely why many residents don't remark on the gruesome nature of the face. The artist, Takaya Imamura, was the one who originally added the face and completed its gruesome look. But where did the idea of the moon originate from? For that, we'll need to travel back 3 months before the release of Ocarina of Time. August 31st, 1998, North Korea launched a rocket called the Taepodong-1 towards Japan. Though official reports say this missile was an attempt to launch a satellite into space, not everyone shared the sentiment. The real reason for the North Korean missile is its target, which is Japan, said Toshiyuki Shikata, a professor at Taikyo University and a retired general in the Japanese Self-Defense Forces. Japan was the victim of nuclear devastation during World War II, and that fear doesn't go away easily. They are equipped with nuclear and missile sirens around nearly every major prefecture, and from time to time, they go off, and it's a terrifying sound. You can head for a bunker if you're quick, just like some residents of Majora's Mask do, but there's no guarantee of safety. During the missile crisis of 1998, Koizumi said he had a daydream during this 2-week high alert situation where he kept looking to the sky for impending doom, and that is where the idea of the falling moon came from. In Majora's Mask, everyone looks to the sky in fear of an oncoming apocalypse, not from a missile, but from the moon crashing down, set to a time limit. After the missile had flown overhead, Aonuma, Koizumi, and other developers attended a wedding. There, they discussed how weird it felt to come to a wedding in a situation where missiles may fall down today. This fear gave them the idea to inject realism into every character in Majora's Mask, from the distraught worker to the conflicted government officials. It even paved the way for the most prolific quest, the Anju and Cafe quest, where you must help reunite these two lovers for a ceremony before the moon falls. It's heartbreaking to see these characters try to share so much joy and love and happiness despite this earth-shattering force of destruction above.
That one scared even me. I don't think even we undead could survive that one. No, you can't stare at the moon and freeze it. Not even with your ugly face. On to our final story. If you're brave enough, this last one is sure to make your spine tingle. No. Oh, no. Oh, God. Here he goes. I didn't mean you. Just get on with the next story.
The Japanese have a fascination with toilet horror, and this trend can be seen in various Zelda games, including Skyward Sword and Oracle of Ages. But the infamous toilet hand debuts itself in Majora's Mask, where it resides in the Stockpot Inn. This hand, often referred to as 3 question marks, appears only after midnight and lingers until dawn, where it retreats back into the toilet. Miyamoto himself went on record to discuss the hand in Entertainment Weekly by saying, "It's a very scary story. When you're sitting in the bathroom, a hand is actually starting to grab you from beneath." But what are these stories? Where do they come from? Well, there are multiple possible sources, so let's start back long ago, back in the Edo period of Japan, from 1603 to 1867. It was around that time that various myths and legends became popular amongst the people of Japan. Of the most infamous yokai of the time is the Kappa, which was commonly thought of as a water demon. What made this monster so foul was their fascination and obsession with the person's soul. Back then, it was said that a person's soul was a small ball known as the Shirikodama. The Kappa would attempt to suck this out and eat the soul, and if done so, the person will be left lifeless, void of all humanity. Now, most of us might think that the Shirikodama, the soul, is somewhere located maybe in our brain, or perhaps in our heart or chest. Not the Kappa, however. It believed that the soul was a small ball located in the anus. Exactly. Since many toilets have you sitting over with your butt exposed, and many toilets being connected to water, it would make sense that this was the prime way for a Kappa to prey on unsuspecting victims and suck out their Shirikodamas. However, not all Kappa did this. Some merely grabbed their victims and pulled them deep into the water or toilets below, drowning them in the process. though some Kappa could be swayed from their evil deeds. Apparently, bowing low and showing respect to a Kappa would make the Kappa bow back. Afterwards, it might provide gifts or knowledge. This is similar to our hand. If we're nice to the hand, it will provide a heart piece in return. But this is merely the beginning of the toilet hand tale. Fast forward to the early 1900s, and another urban legend known as Akamanto emerges. The story goes that this red cloaked spirit would reside in bathrooms and wait for people to use the toilet. After doing their business, the occupants would find that no toilet paper was around. They would instead hear a voice that would utter red paper or blue paper. Should the victim say red, they would be lacerated, stabbed, and flayed. Should they say blue, they would be suffocated or strangled. And should they say any other color, then they would be dragged to the pits of hell. Apparently, the only way to avoid such a gruesome death is to ignore the spirit, not wipe, and just run away. Lovely. This story again somewhat mimics the hand and the stockpot inn, but is slightly different. Instead of offering paper, it requests paper, a slight deviation from the tale, but similar nonetheless. And of course, the tale permeates on, from the legend of Hanako-san, a toilet-bound spirit who was murdered on the toilet, to its various retellings, such as Moaning Myrtle in Harry Potter. It appears that many people are fascinated with toilet horror.
Yep, that's the last time I use the toilet again. From now on, I'm only going in that crypt there. You use your paper to wipe? What do you mean your Oh, God. Anyway, I hope you all have nightmares after this. I know I will. Until next time. Oh, and Tingle Boy, I can dance too.